All right, well, it's great to be here. My name is Erich Pratt. I'm Executive Director of Gun Owners of America. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm going to be giving the federal report this morning, and in doing so, I want to draw an analogy to an old Western, a movie that you've probably all seen, those of you sitting here. It's the famous Clint Eastwood classic, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Because after all, that describes our Congress, doesn't it? By the way, according to some, that was the movie that launched Clint Eastwood's career. What's interesting about that, we have a modern-day parallel to that because in the midst of the ugliness on Capitol Hill, it may be that we have a pro-gun hero who is being launched to stardom, but more on that in just a second. I'll talk about that in a minute. But first, here's the good, the bad, and the ugly for the 115th Congress, a two-year period. So starting with the good, we've got Obama's Social Security gun ban gone. Repealed by Congress, signed by President Trump. Then there was two Supreme Court justices, one confirmed, of course, one on the verge of being confirmed. You know, it's interesting, the Democrats want to run an extra FBI background check on the next Supreme Court justice. You know, here's an idea. If Trump were to nominate Hillary Clinton to the Supreme Court, a full investigation into her would finally be done. How about that? But no, not that way, not that way. Anyway, back to the good. We stopped all the major anti-gun bills in the Congress this year, universal background checks, semi-auto bans, the whole bit. We did this fighting tremendous pressure after several mass shootings, so stopping these bans was a very, very, very good thing. Finally, and most significantly, we were able to pass concealed carry reciprocity in the House of Representatives, but most significantly, it had protection for constitutional carry. So in other words, if you are in one of the 14 states that allows for constitutional carry, you would be able to carry around the country without asking permission from the government. That's the Second Amendment in action right there. You know, this was the first time that a concealed carry reciprocity bill had ever passed the House of Representatives with a constitutional carry protection. So this was very, very significant, very, very good news. So there's the good. What about the bad? There's a bit of bad and a little bit of ugly. So we'll look at that. First, back to concealed carry reciprocity. It only passed the House. We would have liked for it to have gone farther. That and suppressor deregulation, both of those things got derailed. I think you can thank the spineless Republican leadership who had promised us that they were going to pass concealed carry reciprocity, and they didn't. They got cold feet. So that's number one. Number two, red flag confiscation orders. Now, these are laws that sanction the confiscation of firearms without any due process whatsoever. So no trial by jury, no having your attorney present, no facing your accuser, just boom. A judge orders the confiscation of your guns, takes the word of a person who maybe has a vendetta against you, and you lose your gun rights. And then, of course, you have to go to court, pay $5,000 to $10,000 to get them back. You know, sadly, we saw Republicans in Congress like Senator Marco Rubio supporting legislation like this. That's a bad idea. But GOA, we were working hard to keep this bill under wraps in the Congress, and we did. We worked doubly hard to kill these bills in state legislatures around the country. We're able to kill them in over a dozen states, so that was good. So even though there's some good here in that we're able to kill these bills all over the country, many of them, there's still a lot of danger. We're going to need to keep watching these bills in years to come. So that's with the bad. Now, what about the ugly? Two things on that. Bump stocks and nix fix. Now, right now, the ATF is working on a rule that is going to ban bump stocks, and we're expected to see that rule in the fall. And if you don't own one, you know, you may be thinking, you know, what's the big deal? They're not that practical anyway. Here's the problem. It opens the door to all kinds of additional gun control. And we've Got several alerts on our website at gunowners.org. You can read the specifics on that there, so I'll refer you to those. But here's the deal. The next anti-gun Democrat that sits in the Oval Office will easily be able to take that bump stock language and expand it to cover all kinds of AR-15s and other semi-automatic firearms. So that's why GOA is fighting this so hard. We're looking to lead the charge in court against this ban once it's put forward. So that's number one on the ugly list. Secondly, there was the Fix NICS legislation that Congress passed in March. It authorizes 2/3 of $1 billion to put the NICS background check system on steroids. Now, you're still going to see bad guys evading the law, because that's what bad guys do, right? I mean, background checks aren't going to stop them from illegally acquiring firearms. But what the law will do, it will put more military veterans with PTSD, put more traffic violators with outstanding bench warrants, put them into the NICS system, and yet we'll also still see a lot more innocents being denied, innocents who have the same names as bad guys. Take one example, California Sheriff John Lope. He carries a gun for a living, obviously. He served honorably in the armed forces, has never committed a crime, but when he tried to buy a gun for his personal use, he was denied by the NICS background check system. And that right there shouldn't be a surprise, because 95% of the initial denials under the background check system are false positives. It's stopping people who should not be stopped. It's stopping good people. And see, that's the problem when you force good people to prove their innocence to the government in order to exercise a God-given right, one that's protected by the Constitution. You know, the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. It doesn't say you can have a background check or a waiting period. It says shall not be infringed. Now, thankfully, there was a bright spot in the midst of all this. I alluded to it earlier. 25 Republicans, led by Representative Jim Jordan, came within 2 votes of killing the Fix NICS bill in March. Sadly, they fell short, but like Clint Eastwood rising to fame after his iconic film, it may just be that the same thing is going to happen for Jim Jordan. He's the choice for GOA to be the House Speaker, and if he does get elected to House Speaker, he will be the most pro-gun speaker that we have seen in decades. So anyway, I want to end with that hopeful note. We're right outside the door. We have a booth there, so please stop by and see us. Thank you so much.